two things. What made you fall in love with the sound? And I also wonder why the lovely P basses you have at the moment just aren't cutting the mustard, Divine.
There's nothing more in the world that I want to get into more than these questions. Right? I'm just like, God damn, this is going to be fun.
Yes, good.
Dude, do you ever play Emily bass videos?
Never.
Have you ever played her a bass video?
I mean, maybe.
This is, relevant to our conversation. It's just not a random one, so stick with me. But I was thinking the other day, because for the first time, context, I've been married for a long time. We've been together nearly 20 years, right? I have never played her any bass videos. Ever. I've never been like, hey, Lisa, check out this Scully Sverrisson solo.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Hey,
listen to the voicing that Hadrian Bro gets on this. I'm like, check that out. And I played
to Stu Ham's bass.
Oh, watch how supple his thumb is when he's thumbing that G string. Anyway.
You've never said that? Yeah, you've never said that to Lisa? No. It's high time you do.
I know. Well, the other day was and the reason why I realized this, I was like, holy shit, this is the first time I've ever thought about playing Lisa a bass video, and I did. But I even said I was like, Lisa, have I ever played you a bass video? And she was like, she kind of looked at me. Huh? What is a bass video? Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm going to play you a bass video later. And she was like, she didn't seem very excited about it. And to be honest, when she watched it, she wasn't that excited either. But at least I was excited, and I was compelled to show her this video. But you haven't then. You haven't shared any videos with Emily.
I mean, if there's something that feels funny or crazy, maybe, but I'm not sharing with her bass videos of something that I earnestly think is amazing, and maybe that's
Claypool's supple thumb.
No, there's enough. I mean, boy, I just barely make it out alive, with, I got bases on furniture, taking photos for content, or, I mean, it's just the last thing that my wife wants from me is like, hey, let's spend our time watching some bass videos together. And I have enough self-awareness and enough relationship awareness to know that. But I'm excited for what happened with you. So did you show her something?
I want to show everybody else this video because I think it's outstanding. Now, there's a lot of people that already know that this is outstanding because it is being watched over the last few months by a gazillion people.
Yeah.
But still, I want to share it with the audience, and everybody that's watched it is going to still enjoy it. Second time around, they're going to be like, damn, this video is good. I just want to show a clip from it because it is beautiful. This guy who you guys are about to watch and my wife watched, okay, for me has just got godlike note placement. Just beautiful. And it's, when you hear it and when you see it, you sometimes forget that, we're all just doing the same thing. We're all playing bass. No, there are some people out there with just godlike placement. And this guy really nails it for me. And what also just makes it so beautiful is the utter simplicity of what he's playing and how incredibly simple it is. And yet it's just incredible. And the guy sitting with him, you can see him just giggling in the room because Do
I even know what you're going to play?
Maybe you don't.
I don't think I do.
Here we go. Check this out.
I can't wait.
Check this out.
Oh, Freddie Washington.
Oh my word. Just listen to this. It's so beautiful. I'm just watching and I'm just
so nice. He plays so light too. Listen, look at barely playing the bass.
Yeah. Here we go. Oh, just incredible. Freddie Washington. Oh my word. I want your babies. Like, it is incredible.
It is pretty
you know what I've been
great.
doing all weekend? I was playing with this. I was playing with him. Yeah, because I had some lessons from a great guitar player called Adam Rogers. Many of the viewers and listeners might know who Adam Rogers is. If you don't, go check him out. He's incredible guitar player out of New York. He's got a trio with, I think, Nate Smith on drums and Fema Efron on bass. Oh, honestly, like he's killing. And I was having a lesson with him once. And he was specifically talking about like time feel, which is what this is just an incredible example of. It's like, it's time feel, it's note placement. It's like we're all playing on a grid, but that grid is malleable and flexible, and we can actually move on the grid as well. The real masters of the craft can actually move their placement on the grid. And Adam Rogers was talking about trying to get people's time feel down. Yeah, trying to get their vocabulary down. We were talking about, like learn this guy's lines, that guy, and we've talked about that, right? You've got these influences, right? So you want to learn your influences lines, absorb them into your hands and your fingers and your musical self, and then that combination of your influences and your physicality becomes your voice on the instrument, right?
Yeah.
And what Adam was talking about is you can not only do that with lines, but you can also do it with time feel. And he was talking specifically about doing it with George Benson. Actually, he was saying he loved George Benson's time feel. So when he was younger, he used to practice along with George Benson and really trying to absorb like where is he feeling the grid. And that for me, when I was listening to Ready Freddie, like over the weekend, practicing with this, I was like trying to do that. I was like, where's he feeling it? It's so crucial that we, pay attention to not only the notes that we play, but where that is sat on the grid.
It's everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
I think, people hear they hear your sound first, how the instrument or just that is the first thing people notice is sound, and then time.
Yeah.
Like how does it sound? How does it feel? And you make snap judgments immediately when you hear time feel. You immediately think, oh, that's a little ahead or behind, or oh, that feels so great. Even if you can't vocalize, that's a little behind the beat or whatever it is. You have an opinion about it pretty quickly. I think at least when you start digging into that kind of thing. I think those are the two things that matter the most.
But it's for me, at least, I'm not sure about you, it was really hard for me to do that. It was just, people used to like, Pino Palladino playing behind. I was like, oh yeah, I can kind of hear it. I didn't hear it as easy as I wanted to. I needed to do work around that and really get into it. And I was talking to some of our students on a live call yesterday, and I actually got shouted at on a gig once. I was on a reggae gig. Let me just stop sharing my screen because I want to share another video with you. But I was actually on a gig, on a reggae gig, and the guitar player, I'm playing along, feeling good. This guy was like, the band was really hot, I'm playing and stuff like that. And he like shouted at me, no, not there. And I was like, you were feeling
straight on it.
Like, I was feeling this sort of like rigid metronomic time. And I was like playing right in the center of it. And he was like, whoa, you need to come all the way back here. And he actually, and it was so memorable for him. He was playing and I was like, oh, I need to move all the way back there. And that was not where I was feeling it naturally at all. And it was a really incredible experience as well. Shout out to Chris Campbell, the guitar player, who shouted at me. It was with love. He was like, what? No.
Man, yeah. I had an experience with my old rock band where a producer was like, give me your bass, and was like, you're playing like this. And he like mocked me.
Really?
Like he told my drummer, play that groove again. And then he was like, you're playing like this. And he was like way on top. And he was like, he said, you're trying to lead. And that's not what you should be doing in this instance. You need to be You need to be playing, following. And he actually pulled up Pro Tools and showed me grid stuff where, where I was dropping in front of the transients of the drums.
Yeah.
And he was saying you need to be slightly like on it or backside of the transient of the drums. That's what it's going to make it feel better.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal for me. I got shouted at too.
Like wondering, like if they can't hear it, don't feel stressed about it. It's totally fine. I've got another clip actually. It makes it more obvious. This is a clip of Danny Moe playing on one of the SBL courses that we've just released. It's a reggae course. It came to mind because when I got shouted at on that gig, it was on a reggae gig, and I was actually watching Danny's course over on SBL, and he did it beautifully, and it reminded me of that, and I was like, oh, that's what I wasn't doing on that gig. I was doing that.
Right.
Let me share this with you because I think it's a beautiful example, and what you'll hear is as well, you'll hear that Danny's way behind, and also really look at his body language as well. He's kind of like pulling back, and this is great. Check it out. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Oh!
Yeah, it's very cool. And some of those subdivisions he's putting right on.
Yeah.
And then leaning some of them back.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like time is malleable, isn't it?
Yes.
We... Especially, and maybe it's like I come from like a rock background when I was a kid. I was like, Van Halen, Steve Vai, Satriani, everything's kind of sort of like
like leaning forward.
Yeah, even leaning forward. Actually, I would argue I actually naturally feel things sometimes like pushing because of that rock background, and this was like when I started getting into this stuff, I was actually like playing out. I was like a professional musician when I really became aware of it, and I think it's so valuable because it really changes when you're playing with a musician and you feel them, like you could. They're going to have a completely different experience playing with you if you approach time in a more malleable way. And I'm not saying that don't use a metronome to practice. Actually, do use a metronome. I love metronomes. They're incredible because that is what the center. That is keeping the grid, and then you can be malleable around that metronome. The great. Derrick Hodge, Derrick who plays with Robert Glasper. Yeah. I was having a conversation with him. Some of you might have seen this maybe a couple of years ago, and he was talking about when he got one of his first big gigs. He's like really famous now for electric playing, but back then he was like playing upright. And it was one of his first big jazz gigs, and he was pulled to the side by the drummer after what he was doing, like a tour or something like that. And the drummer was like, what's going on with your time? He was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you play like a metronome. And I loved this. And he told me this story of like, he was like, oh. And the guy, this much more experienced drummer at the time, he was like, we don't play like that. We're not all, it's not about like playing like a metronome and everybody like sitting on that grid. The relationship is actually created through this tension. Just like we saw Danny do there, he was pulling back. You can do that in all different styles of music. And I think that it's just, all that to say, Ian, I am down that rabbit hole. I'm so far down.
This. I love that. I love that you're down this rabbit hole. This is like something that I think about on a daily basis. I feel like it's just always on my mind. I think time feel is like a big deal. Yeah. I guess the thing that I want to just add to that is it depends. Your whole life then and career as a bass player is deciphering how you want to feel in what situation, because don't hear us saying that it's always appropriate to be like Danny Moe pulling back. Like imagine playing a bebop thing, walking bass line, and thinking that you need to lay back your walking quarters. That's a pushing thing. Or if you're in a punk rock band, and playing with a pick and aggressive guitars, like that laying back is not the thing.
It's not the thing, yeah.
But for certain R&B things or hip hop or soul, Motown, but it's but not even always. That's the thing, is that you can't even say, I don't even want to reduce it to saying, oh, these genres all play forward, these genres all play back. It's a different, it's really individual to the players, you know?
Yeah.
I got a chance to, that same producer that yelled at me, got a chance to mix a Rolling Stones track. And he pulled it up, or like do this remix, and he pulled it up and put it on the grid and showed us. And it was fascinating where like Charlie Watts's kick and snare was in relation to click or like perfect time. I feel like it was either like kick was a tiny bit forward, snare was a tiny bit back, or vice versa. Yeah. And then Wyman was a little bit backside, and then guitars were always front. Like Keith Richards' stuff was always in front of the beat, and you could just see it lay out. And if you heard any of those things by themselves, they sounded kind of odd and disconnected. Not bad, but just like not grooving really. Yeah. But then once everything was together, it felt like the Rolling Stones, you know? And that was just fascinating. This guy's name is David Bendith, and he was the first person to say in a lot of styles of music, he said, you as a bass player should be able to think about transient triggering bass. So he said, so like when you play with a drummer, instead of being on top of them, playing over their kick drum or with the kick drum, he said, you should think about it like, where like the transient hits and triggers. It's like versus it's not, you know, it's not over or on top. I mean, I'm really exaggerating that, but it's like where the smack happens, and the smack is the thing that lets the bass note live.
Well, the kick drum triggers the bass note.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can see that on grids. Like if you play to a drum track and zoom in, you can see what your tendency is. And ever since he said that, I feel, you know, he said if you're slightly, and I mean, I'm talking just milliseconds, not a crazy amount. You can almost not even feel it. But if you're a little bit behind drums in a genre that like, or in a thing that feels good to do that, he said it makes the drum sound louder, more powerful, more grooving, just slightly backside. And that's something that I've, you know, really internalized. And it's not always appropriate, but it's pretty rad. Yeah. When that feel happens, I think.
It's so important, isn't it? And it's really, just to put it out there as well, it's a pain in the ass to work on, because it's not like, it's not like, hey, I heard this lick, now I'm going to learn the lick. Okay, I've learned the lick, now I'm going to practice the lick. Oh, I can do the lick.
Yeah,
it's more kind of like, it's like trying to grab a cloud. You know, it's like, am I doing it right? But from to your point earlier, I think that doing it with a DAW, so you like practicing it. So for me, I've been practicing with just kick and snare. Yeah. You know, practicing feel. I haven't been recording it into a DAW, but I think I should be. And just really, really trying to sort of like learn these different feels so you can access them when you want to, rather than just your go-to. You know, like I think everybody will be able to I guess sort of like resonate with this. Do you know when you pick up the bass, you kind of go to that sort of like that groove that you always play. There's a few grooves. There's kind of like a few tempos as well. Everybody generally goes to their comfortable tempos.
So true.
And it's the same with feel as well, right? It's going to be always the same kind of feel. So I think that getting a grasp on that is going to be, well, that's my aim. That's what I'm working on. I am back practicing, awesome. Dude. I'm back practicing.
That's so great.
Because of this freaking shoulder. If anybody doesn't know, I was in hospital. I had a shoulder reconstruction surgery. It's been a beast. And I came out, it was I guess sort of like I can't say a life-changing experience because it's not changed anything yet, but I think potentially a life change. It was a state-changing experience, because when I went into before the surgery, I was not thinking, I don't know, you know, I think that everybody goes through different seasons and different things, kind of, you know, different things kind of like start these seasons within our life. And sometimes you're like slowly go into a new season. And sometimes you actually get this sort of like a jolt that pushes you in a completely new direction. And that was it for me, going into hospital and having this shoulder operation, because I was beforehand, and we hang out a lot. Right?
We do.
So you know me really well. And I was like doing the SBL thing, and then I had other things that I had on the side, and I had like just like I was, spreading, I wouldn't say spreading myself too thin, but I was spreading myself over different areas of my life, right?
Yes.
Professional, not sort of like family and stuff like that aside, professional areas of my life. I was also involved in sort of like business coaching, small startups and stuff like that. And I came round from the anesthetic in hospital, and I was in hospital for like a day and a bit, and all I could think about was bass, making music, playing, wanting to just get, and it was this like kind of like this realization. It was kind of like, what are you doing? Why do you feel the urge to not just, it was like, it's hard to put into words, but I think that ultimately, to sort of like put it in a nutshell, I felt like I was taking the music for granted. The gift of music, the gift of the instrument, that I've spent all of these years with. I think it's incredibly easy to take it for granted.
Yes.
And I came around from that operation. I'm like lying in bed, sending you videos.
I know.
Telling you that I wasn't off my face on painkillers. And I clearly was completely out of it.
Totally off your face on painkillers.
Completely out of it. And I was like, I feel completely fine, Ian. Everybody said I'd be off my face on these painkillers. I'm totally fine.
You're like, I'm not feeling a thing.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. Yeah, I'm better. Anyway, but yeah, so I came out of it, and it was just an incredible experience. And since then, I've just really fallen in love with the instrument again, and fallen in love with practicing again. I'm practicing every single day. I know,
man. I mean, I love it. I love that you're posting more on Insta too, because there was a time where you were like, I'm done with Instagram for a while. Like, team, you guys take it. Yeah. And you know what? Yeah. We missed you, man.
I do have like mixed emotions about social media. I will say. I think everybody does. So I've got mixed emotions. I kind of like, I enjoy it when I'm in it and doing it, but I can just, I think there's a dark side to it, and it just swallows up a lot of time, and the doom scrolling's real and stuff like that, and I don't enjoy that side to it. Yeah. So, but yeah, I've been sort of like posting more, but yeah, I'm like writing music. I've just gone down. I'm not sure about you, but for me, you are the same. Like you're starting this project. I won't say too much. I'm not sure what you're comfortable with saying, but you're starting this project that you're doing, and I'm doing a project as well. I want to do a couple of projects actually, but it's like any excuse, dude. Any excuse. The gear part of my brain. Any excuse. It's like, you're looking to start some projects, Divine, huh? Oh, okay, better start looking at gear. And it just like, dude, erupts. Like it's
like an angry this volcano. About you. This is so true. Everybody checking this out. This is Scott Divine. After you've done a thing and you're feeling like after you did the record with Psy, the Fusion record, the Divine King project, you were like, I'm done buying basses. I'm done. And I'd be like, oh man, don't you need cause I'm a horrible, like bass pusher. Like it's a terrible thing.
It's a good job. You'd be like, I'm bass and not drugs, man. You'd be some sort of like drug lord, the Minneapolis drug lord.
Kingpin. Yeah, it's true. I know. I'd be like bass cartel. I think, but when you get a creative idea, that's the thing that then you start thinking about, what is the instrument or gear that's going to support this creative idea? And I've got to say that if you have a gear hang up, like we both do, for different reasons at different times and all that, that's actually a pretty healthy one, I think, to think about like, what is the voice or the instrument or the sound that I'm going for? Obviously, we all know bone tone, baby. The tone is how you play.
Tones in there and bone tone.
Yeah, but a different instrument, right, or a different pedal. I mean, at its best, I think, and I wonder if you agree, at its best, a piece of gear is going to inspire, is going to make you feel excited about playing something that you wrote or even something new. But regardless, the piece of gear, if it brings music out of you or creativity out of you, that's the best, right?
It's
that's the best
I'm
case.
smiling because I'm like, yeah, but I'm also like, God, it's just out of control, dude. It's out.
Dude, are you gonna tell me?
Oh, it's messy. It's just messy. It's. I've just got a outrageous P-based thirst at the minute. It's outrageous.
Really?
It's outrageous. Yeah.
You hear that Freddie Washington track, how it sits in the mix. It's so lovely. He was playing so softly too. Yeah. I mean, I feel like he was just barely playing the bass.
Dude, God,
it had so much.
I'm not going to mention this guy's name because it wouldn't be fair. But I was listening to have you heard? Let me just play the track because it's relevant. Let me just pull this up. I'm just going to share my screen with you,
dude. As you're pulling it up, I have to say I had this gig where I was trying to get everybody on the gig to get off of charts. We've been on charts for so long, and I'm saying, guys, we got to get off charts. We got to do it. And I put my charts away. Yeah. And then the band leader called "Sweet Love" by Anita Baker. Freddie Washington, baby. And I did not know it.
Oh, no.
And I cozied up to the guitar player and said, after just being like, you got to put those charts away. And he was like, hey, man, you want to get in and look at this chart? So I have PTSD around that tune, man. Hardcore.
Oh, my word. That is brutal.
Okay, so I love YouTube. You probably love YouTube. But let's be honest. It's not the best platform for in-depth teaching. Enter the SBL Academy. At SBL, we break down the bass with a curriculum-driven approach that spans from complete beginner level to super advanced. We also cover all kinds of genres, skills, and techniques, all brought to you by world-class bass instructors. And best of all, you can get started today for free at trysbl.com.
Check this out. This is the one. And shout out to Vertex Effects as well. Come on. This is...
Yeah, cool, man.
Content at its
Stepping up
fine.
the game.
Okay, check this out. So this is the track that Freddie's probably most known for. Check it out. Look at that thumb.
Killer.
Come on, dude. Long intros. Where did they go?
Oh. Hey.
You can even see where he's feeling the rhythm.
Yes.
You know, like how he's actually moving his body, you can really see there that he's like where he's sitting in the grid. Anyway, the reason why I wanted to show it is that I was thinking about Freddie and that somebody popped up on Instagram. Incredible bass player. 50% of our audience will know who this person is. I'm not going to mention his name because it's not fair. And he was playing this track. He was playing along with this track. And he was feeling the beat and because I've been like obsessing about Freddie Washington over the weekend when I heard this track, I was like, wow. Because this guy's a monster.
Different placement. Yeah.
Completely different place. It did not sound anywhere near like Freddie does it.
Crazy.
It didn't sound as good, right? Just to be sort of like blatant about it. You know,
Sure.
I'm sure if this guy sort of like went and, you know, sort of like, he could probably do it if he went and sort of like practiced the Freddie feel and stuff like that.
But it wasn't hitting you the same. It
wasn't him. It was so outrageously different. I was like, wow, it's sort of like, really ahead of the beat. And it just didn't have that Freddie Washington. There you go. Anyway, just wanted to mention it because it was just another example of just how outrageous he is.
Yeah. I mean, you know, well, it's that thing of we hear time. You hear sound, time. I think in kind of that order. You hear the dawn of the P bass and you immediately are like, ooh, P bass.
Yeah.
And then you hear the time feel. And I think then it's like notes and the harmony and stuff comes after. In terms of analysis, I think.
Do you know what you said to me the other week?
What?
I'm outing you.
Oh no.
You said, you might not remember this. You said,
oh no.
I think Forget Me Nots might sound better anyway if you'd played it on a jazz bass.
Oh, come on. Come on. Wait,
now,
was this person that 50% of our audience would know me?
No, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. But I think that like do you agree with yourself?
Sacrilege.
After watching this now, just that one set.
That bass sounds so good to me.
It sounds so
I remember,
good,
okay, here's the, oh God, you are so mean to me. Such a dick. I remember the first time I heard that tune, I was in I struggled hearing the P bass as a good sound. I kind of heard it as a sound that was old, that cut through, that was baked into an
your
era.
P-bass hate stage like I had?
Yeah. Oh, and I kind of remember thinking,
why does anybody play a P-bass hate sound?
Yes,
awful. Does anybody else have that? I wonder if anybody else had that. Please let us know in the comments.
Oh,
if you're watching
let us
this on
know.
YouTube. Please let us know. Make us feel a bit better. That I had like an utter hate for P basses. I've got no idea what was going on. I didn't like the sound. I didn't like the look of them. I was like, ugh.
Yep, like too trad, too boxy. And I remember hearing that thing and thinking immediately, hearing the sound and thinking, ooh, that's... And I even think on the original recording, like on this, what you just played, that whatever chain that is, that's new strings on a P bass. That's like a beautiful, sounds so wide.
Yeah.
But the original recording is like a little boxier sounding. It's cool.
Yeah.
But it is like vintagey.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's flats or maybe kind of older rounds. But I remember thinking,
rounds.
Man.
I'm not sure. Like the bass he's playing there is a P bass with Bartolini's and a badass bridge on it.
Oh,
but I think that he did. I think the pickups died at some point, so his tech just put the Bartolini in there. And I'm not sure, but they're passive. I think they are anyway. And then I think that it's got like a badass bridge in it. But yeah, it's
classic 80s mods, you know.
Classic 80s mods, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Yeah.
It does sound good. I mean, and his playing sounds great. But yeah, maybe I did say something about like, I think maybe what I meant was I would have been about that tune more had I connected to the sound more. Like it took me a long time. For me, the P bass was like black licorice or something. It was like an acquired or olives or something that like I didn't like as a kid and I grew to appreciate as an adult. Because I think every bass player should have the experience of playing a P bass. And I had this experience of playing it alone and thinking, yuck. And then playing in a band and going, oh, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's
incredible.
That experience of playing it in a band or on a record or something and going, oh, wow, it sits in this magical place.
Yeah. I think the P bass with rounds as well sounds is, and maybe I'm just talking to myself here, but that it's like everybody's always talking about P bass with flats. That was the thing that everybody. Right. Everybody had a Noble, everybody had a P bass, everybody had flat wounds on it, and a Cali compressor just to sort of like as the cherry on top, right? Everybody had it. And,
you're just taking shots at me, I feel like. It's just
did you as well? Like, did you?
Yeah, dude, of course.
Hey, I would have had one as well. I was there. I was just sort of like, I was at the shop window, just drooling at the shop window. But I put
a P bass with rounds.
What do you get? Are you getting one with rounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, like.
Because... Oh my God, I just did a thing.
Hang on. Oh God, I can't lift the bass.
Oh no. Other hand.
Hang on.
Oh! Don't do yourself in. Do you have rounds on that at the moment?
Rounds on it, yeah. Well, this is what I wanted to say is that this has had flats on it it's had flats on it forever.
I know.
And then I put rounds on it a few months ago and it was
Hold on. Correction. I put rounds on it.
No way! Did you put the rounds on?
Yeah, it was when I was over and we needed a P with flats and a P with rounds.
You did.
Yeah. And I broke it in. Yeah. That's a cool vibe.
Yeah, it's a cool vibe.
These are probably pretty new.
The Full Stack Bassist, the course that we've just closed, unfortunately, and we talk about time feel and all of that stuff. And
yes, we do.
Sorry, everybody. That was the course for you if you're into it. But I used this to record the entire course, and I absolutely loved it. Loved it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, this has fresh rounds. Let's see. It's a cool sound.
It's a cool sound, isn't it?
Yeah, man. I mean,
I think it was just because I was so into the modern sound. You know, I was joking a few weeks ago. I was like right in that sort of like moment between E.T. and The Matrix. Right? I was like right in that moment where it was all about, you know, like I loved the Marcus Miller sound. I was into Marcus's sound. I was into Gary Willis. He had this fretless thing going on.
Yes.
And who else? Like, you know, Scuddy Sverrisson. He was like Tobias, like active bass, Bartolini pickups, active, super.
Such a sound.
Like that whole thing. And then I can remember hearing the P bass and just thinking, it sounds kind of like cardboard. You know, it sounded really boring to me.
Old trad.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
And goddamn
boring.
Right. Yeah.
But they do. Okay, so two things. I need to know from your perspective then, what made you fall in love with the sound? For anybody out there who is like, I still feel that way. Or, you know, or the people that are going, God, how do I fall in love with this? Wonder what it was for you. And I also wonder why the lovely P basses you have at the moment just aren't cutting the mustard, Divine.
Oh, okay.
So what made you fall in love?
It's so sexy. There's nothing more in the world that I want to get into more than these questions. Right? I'm just like, God damn, this is going to be fun.
Yes, good. Great.
Okay,
Great.
so my on-ramp to the P bass. Oh my God. And just to put it out there as well, because people might be new to SBL or new to, you know, sort of like our sphere and hanging out with us online. I was a P bass guy for a long time. So
you really were.
Yeah. In fact, I had companies reach out and they were like, we know you're a P bass guy, but, and they'd be like, do you want, you know, we'd like you to check out our basses and stuff like that. Or companies reaching out and saying, hey, you know, we really do the jazz bass thing, but we want to do the P bass thing. Would you be interested in sort of like helping us out, design this thing? And we'd love your opinion on it, because I started on this, I don't know, like a long time ago. There was a section of my YouTube life was around 14 years ago where I played sort of like an active bass for maybe like 2 or 3 years. And then for about 5 years, all I played was P basses, and I had lots of different ones.
Yep.
This one, I had the Nate Mendel, I had the Moulon. Now I've got, this is the Moulon hybrid, got a Moulon neck on it, and I've got the custom shop body. You hate that, don't you? I've got something to tell you about this. I've got something to tell you about it. I've got an Alinto at home, which is just
it's
incredible. I've probably got, I might have some other P basses, I'm not sure. Yeah, all that to say that I turned into this P bass guy, and then I kind of sort of like after that, there's different moments of your life, different stages, and I kind of wandered into an active bass. I've been playing the F bass BN5s now for a while.
Yes,
and I absolutely love them actually. But with the P bass, is the first thing that got me into it actually. Well, there was two things. It was the and it's kind of to do with YouTube. We've talked about it before, because I was doing the active 5-string thing, and everybody was playing active 5 strings with high Cs and stuff. And I was like, God, I just don't want to be just like a bad version of everybody else. I need to do something, you know, of my own. And at that time, I know it sounds like this is a long time ago. Back in the olden days, the P basses they weren't having their sort of like full renaissance yet. Totally. It was like Pino Palladino had just done a few albums that were people were taking notice of in a big way. Tim LaFave, I think, was also partly to do with that sort of, that renaissance of the P bass, and all of that wasn't in full swing yet, but it was starting to swing. It started to move, and I noticed it, and so I started, and I was like, oh, P bass. Maybe there's something there. That's not like, nope, because like now loads of people play P basses, but back then they weren't. They were just, it was in a down area of the P bass. And I listened to, so that's when I sort of like started getting interested in the P bass, and I listened to the John Mayer Trio live with Pino Palladino playing on that, and that was it. I listened to that album. Is it, what's it called? Where the Light Is, I think. Is it called Where the Light Is?
Yeah, where they do the trio set.
Yeah, they do an acoustic one, but then they do the whole... Exactly that, yeah.
Yeah. Who Did You Think I Was?
Who Do You Think I Was? Yeah, it was that album. Yes. So I listened to that album. Somebody recommended an engineer on a gig I was on. Was like, oh, have you checked out this album by John Mayer? I was like, no. He's like, oh, Pino's on it. I was like, oh, yeah. Anyway, checked it out, and I was like, oh, this is incredible. I love the sound. That's when I really got into Pino's playing as well, through that album. I did like old school album listening. Do you know when you just listening to one album for like 6 weeks, like the old days? I did that. So just maybe more than 6 weeks, more like 6 months actually. Yeah. But I went in, and that really was the thing that captivated me about the P bass. And then once I was in, and then, through other things, Voodoo, obviously, with Pino, although he did use his Moon bass on that album as well. So Voodoo by D'Angelo. Really, anybody that hasn't watched the Pino interview with Questlove, you should go and
it's really good.
Check that out. There's some great stories about recording the album. So that was a big deal getting into Voodoo as well. And then there was just some other play, like I really like Sean Hurley as well, like watching Sean Hurley play, and he was obviously involved in the Mayer crew when that. So I kind of went down that P bass rabbit hole then, and then what I really fell in love with P basses is that they're all really different.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, they're all really different. They have there's different response. It's easy if like my earlier self would have just looked at a P bass and was like, just a P bass.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Yeah, they're all the same. Just that, boring body, one pickup and just whatever.
Yeah, right. Sure.
And there's actually, they're all really, really different. Really different in the way they respond. The strings, that some P basses that I've had in the past work better with rounds. Some work better with flats. There's no way to tell why, at least for me, but they just seem to. I'm just like, this bass plays great with flat. There's something about it that just feels great.
Yes.
I think sometimes it's the physicality of that. I'm just not sure. And maybe to do with the weights as well. There's all of that stuff. Go on.
Hang on a minute. Let me dig into this a little bit, because I think also in the past I have said that, or when people ask me what P bass should I get, I have a blanket answer, which is get any P bass, because a P bass will sound like a P bass. And I do think that's true.
It is.
Now, I'm not saying they all sound the same, but that pickup, the split coil thing, is such a strong pull toward the P bass sound, where you put that Tetris piece pickup in that position on a piece of wood, man, it's pretty P bassy, right? Yeah. Like passive pickup. But that does not speak to playability, wood, the way that feels, the action, the setup, the neck dimension, all those things that go into your experience of playing a P bass, right? So
I think you're absolutely right. P basses do, like you can say to somebody, just get any P bass, get something with a P pickup and you're going to be good. And I think I think that's right actually. But I think when you get in the weeds, there's a few things I think that, there's a few things that it's like, so, should we go there? So one, like maybe there's, oh my word, let me think. I can't remember how many, but let me just go through them. Firstly, neck carve is so important to me.
Big deal.
Big deal. I'm like, what's the neck carve like? Is it, I depends on what day you catch me on. Sometimes I'll want like a thinner neck, like this has got the Moulin neck on it. It's not a jazz bass neck, but it's a little thicker than a jazz bass neck, but I would say thinner than a regular P bass neck. It's somewhere in between. It's really comfortable, but it's round as well. So I also like wider necks a lot. I like 44 mil, which is the widest P bass neck that you can get, 44 mil. But I also like, because you can get different widths of P bass necks, but you can also get different depths of P bass necks.
Exactly.
So it's finding what's really like gonna feel comfortable for you. So for me, I love this neck actually, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of like undecided. I'm still kind of like jumping between basses and like, oh, which one do I really like? But I do like this neck, but I also really like 44 mil width necks that are really shallow front to back. Like 19 mil. If I can get like a 44 wide, which is like a upright bass width, it's like wide.
Yes. Yep.
Some people hate that 44 wide. But like 19 or 20 front to back at the first fret, that feels great to me. Yeah, it feels.
And that's like
just
late
different.
50s into kind of early 60s. Dude, could we? I think this is actually really interesting. I think the whole neck thing around Fenders and P basses, people are kind of like, oh, what eras have what? I actually have a couple of good examples of what I sort of consider the 4 classic P bass shapes.
Let's see them, dude. What in terms
Should
of
we
necks?
do it?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I can kind of show you, but let's start in the beginning. So let me just grab it. Hold up. So now this isn't a real 51 P bass, but it's a custom shop. But it was from 2001 when they did the re-release. They bought a bunch of old 50s basses and then did this crazy run of them, and they were down, so they got the neck carve totally nailed.
So interestingly, I don't like these necks. These are the ones that I don't like.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, a slightly more narrow than what you like with the 44 mil, and it is a big U, or some people would call it a D, but it is an absolutely thick, almost think about like taking a pole and cutting it in half.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a lot of shoulder on the neck here. And I love this neck. It feels good here, but it does not, it's thick, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's number 1. Ready for number 2? After that, in the late 50s, when it turns into this is a 58. And this has a slight V neck.
Is that actually a 58?
No, sorry. This is a custom shop as well.
I was about to start drooling. It's okay. We can do custom shop.
Yes.
Is that a V? Yeah, V.
Yeah, so this had a slight V. So it was very similar to the early wider here, but similar to the 51 in that it's thick front to back, but the shoulder is more sloped.
Taken the shoulders off, haven't they?
Yes, they've taken the shoulder up. And so it's just a different feel. Yeah. This is another one that I think is amazing.
You can get strats as well with V-necks.
Totally. Yeah. Yes. Then in the late 50s, early 60s, into kind of mid 60s, you get that neck that you like.
Yeah.
Which is the flat, wide C.
Yes.
And I've got a good example of that too. Let's look.
I'm loving this. I'm loving your amp peg in the back, by the way. Oh.
It's an amazing amp. Okay. Oh boy. This is ridiculous. Let me just set this one down. Now, here is the 44 wide.
Oh, just look at it. I can just see it. It's nice and wide. Yeah.
It's a beast, and it's maybe, these are all hand carved, so it's maybe not quite 19, but it is definitely thinner. It's a C, and it's far thinner front to back than
that looks
either
like
of
my
the 50s.
custom shop neck down here.
Yeah.
Actually.
I bet it's similar, but this is a real 65. So this is actually a vintage bass.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and here, let me just for fun, let's just play it a sec here. It has actually sort of like new flats on it.
Which is your favorite bass to play?
Favorite bass to wait.
Out of your P basses?
I really do like that 78 Antigua, which I'll show you in a second, show you the neck. But probably my favorite one is the 51.
The 51.
Actually.
That's the one I've seen you play the most, actually. Yeah.
I love it.
Interesting.
This one has that real kind of barky mid-range thing.
That's what I was going to say. So it's necks for me is like a big deal on P basses, like getting the neck carve right for you, obviously. It's mid-range. And I'm not exactly sure whether that's just pickup or it's to do with the pickup and the weight. I'm not sure. Yeah. But it's definitely mid-range because there's a lot of different P basses I've played where the mid-range is different in them. And some of them have that classic, it's a P bass, like the one that you just played. It just sounds like it. And some of them sound like a P bass, but they don't have that, like that, maybe that typical mid-range that I'm used to.
Yes.
And then there'll be other things other than the pickup and the weight. And I mean like the weight of the instrument, because that definitely plays into just the sound of the instrument. And then you've got the fingerboard as well, obviously rosewood and maple.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah. Last neck, they go back in the 70s. They go back smaller at the nut, and they kind of bring back something similar to the early 50s. It's not quite a D or a U, but it's like a C, but it's kind of thick, it's kind of chunky. And I don't know, man. I kind of dig them all. I sort of like I grab one and I'm like, oh, this is nice. But back to the 70s, different mid-range than the 65. Not as like chewy in the mids.
Exactly.
Doesn't make me salivate as much.
Yeah. And just to answer your other question, why am I?
Please.
Why? I don't know. No logical reason. I think it's just because I've got like a massive love for P basses.
It wasn't why. It was or the question rather was why
what about
aren't
the other basses that I've got aren't perfect?
Yeah, because you've got that beautiful Linto, you've got the
Alinto kills. So the Alinto kills.
Awesome.
It's the greatest bass with flats on I've ever had. It's really dark sounding. It's incredibly dark sounding. It's got a vibe, and I don't want to change it. I don't want to put rounds on it or anything like that. But it's very, very dark sounding.
Got it.
Maybe too, like for the projects that I'm thinking about, maybe too dark sounding. And then I've got this bass. Even though I love this bass, there's something about it that I'm not gelling with, and I've used it a lot. I'm actually going to put the Moulon neck back on this, on the Moulon body. I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to put it back on and just see if that's got a vibe. Not to play the custom shop, but to play the Moulon. Interesting.
Oh my God, it's hurting my heart.
I don't know. It looks incredible, this bass. But
what are you going to do with are you going to put the custom shop neck back on the custom shop?
I'm going to put the custom shop neck back on the custom shop.
And then you're just going to throw it in a corner and forget about it. That beautiful bass. Sad.
I'm always going to have the custom shop. Look at it. It's outrageous. It is outrageous. But I don't know what it is about it. There's something. I don't know, man.
Doesn't inspire. So you're not only, I mean, this takes us back to the old podcast, dude. Remember the old channel? This takes us back.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking Search for Excalibur, but now we've whittled it down to Search for Excalibur P-Bass Edition.
Yeah, P-Bass Edition. Yeah, P-Bass Edition. And like, I don't know. I'm just on this journey, and maybe it doesn't even end up being a P-Bass. Who knows? But where I am right now is just in P-Bass madness. I'm on reverb in the middle of the night. I'm looking at Lever Capollos. It's just ferocious. There is a bass that I've played a bunch of times. And it's incredible. But it's a lot of cheese. It's a
lot of cheddar, bro.
It's a lot of cheese. It's a 59. It's a 59p bass, and it's a lot of cheese. It's Yeah, and if somebody bought it, I'd be incredibly sad. It's interesting. If somebody bought
Maybe
that
you
bass.
need to buy it. You've got some basses that you could offload.
I know. I'd need to sell some bases. I'd need to sell some bases to get this thing. But yeah, but it's
You don't even want to
gorgeous.
tell people what it is.
It's gorgeous, and it's got 44 mil, 19 mil front to back.
That's your dream neck, dude.
I know.
Maybe Excalibur.
I know. We'll wait and see. Watch this space. Anyway, dude, let's call it. I've got to. I'm on dinner duty with the kids tonight, guys. Thank you so much for hanging. It's been wicked. We will see you next time. And take it easy. Bye.
Take care, everybody.